Welcome back once again. As we earlier said, that Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati, while he was attending a Security Council meeting at the United Nations in New York, Manhattan, while he was accompanying Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli attending the Board of Peace in Washington. Then he went to New York and attended that Security Council meeting in the United Nations. He again reaffirmed Egypt's support for a comprehensive settlement of the Palestinian question, and also a full implementation of the resolution 2803, sustaining the ceasefire or holding the ceasefire, ensuring the flow of humanitarian aid at this harsh weather and this condition in the holy month for the Palestinian brothers and sisters, and backing a full UN membership of the state of Palestine, which more than 150 countries agreed on. To shed more light over this issue, very delighted to have with us our prominent guest, Dr. Maryan Gergis. She's a writer and a journalist. Good morning, Dr. Maryan.
Good morning and blessed Ramadan.
Same to you here. It's a real pleasure to have you again looking over the Palestinian question, while Dr. Badr Abdulati is now in the United States and going back and forth between Washington and New York, Manhattan, to the UN headquarters. He said, like I said earlier, that he insisted on the importance of supporting the UN, the implementation of the UN Resolution 2803 and a bunch of other measures that are a foundation of any peace settlement. Exactly. So how important was Egypt's participation in the Board of Peace meeting at this crucial timing? Egypt is a very important member there.
Yes, of course it was very important meeting, and Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli was there, and many messages we have to analyze in his message in the Board of Peace in the inaugural meeting on Thursday. Let me say in the very first beginning that I'm very proud of all the Egyptian efforts that has been done and that's being done till this moment for the Palestinian case. Let me tell you that the Egyptian role is very principled and it's a key role in the region. As we know, since the past century, and Egypt has been supporting the Palestinian case, has been very supportive for the Palestinian case and for unifying the Palestinian Authority. Actually, Egypt played many roles and played lots of cards very professionally in a diplomatic way in this case, either on the diplomatic aspect or on the military aspect, or even in the humanitarian access, and being the only gateway and the only crossing, one of the most important crossings to Gaza Strip, of course, Rafah crossing, which was the only pathway where all humanitarian access, medical supplies, food and water were delivered to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. But here we are talking about the diplomacy or the diplomatic response of the Egyptian state in the Board of Peace. And let me say here is a very important point. The Board of Peace, which is an initiative, peace initiative from the US, would have never seen light or would have never launched without the approval of the Egyptian state. And let me go back to 2020, where when Donald Trump and Jared Kushner proposed the deal, the century peace, or the deal of the century, and it was very abusing to all the rights of the Palestine, and it was not approved because even Egypt and Jordan and the Palestinian Authority didn't approve this deal. But the Board of Peace initiative is totally different than many other initiatives and many peace initiatives, where many rights will be given to the Palestinian state, and of course many ambitious plans is being implemented to the Palestinian state. Also, let me say that within the words of the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, there was a very important detail said within his words, which is bridging and hinging the Gaza Strip with the West Bank. There is a fear within the Palestinian Authority right now that will happen a geographic split or demographic split between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. But in his words, he emphasized that the Egyptian state and the vision of the Egyptian state is to unify both under single Palestine Authority.
And also the insistence on the flow of humanitarian in spite of the Israeli rejection and violation of the international law and all norms is a heroic action on our side. That's very good that you mentioned the soft diplomacy of Egypt, which acted as a very important gesture during the peace summit that was held in Sharm el-Sheikh, and totally convinced the American administration. So the support of the Egyptian support for what could be called the National Committee in Gaza, or the Palestinian Technocrat transitional, for the transitional period and all that. How does that reflect Cairo's vision for a comprehensive peace settlement?
Yes, the vision of Cairo summarized in few points. The first point with the sustainable ceasefire. And the sustainable ceasefire is not an easy point, by the way. While we are talking about re-establishment of Gaza and rebuilding the infrastructure and the destroyed homes and maintaining the public services and the water and the food and many services that they need there, actually we have to link the re-establishment and the reconstruction of Gaza with this security, or with this sustainable and political security, because this reconstruction will take at least a decade, like 10 years. It will end by 2040. So we have to maintain and sustain political settlement and security during all these years, which is a very hard point. Without this stability and without this security and political settlement, we will remain in the circle of destroyment and return to square zero. We would have never make anything except returning to point zero. As you know, the infrastructure and the houses are totally destroyed. Like 80% of the Gaza Strip is totally destroyed, and the infrastructure and the main challenges, many analysts were thinking about the challenges that will face the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. Maybe in some points we can summarize the challenges: the humanitarian gap and the funding gaps and the political insecurities. The moving or mobilizing the rubble is one of the most challenges, like tons of debris and rubble and unexploded material. All of these are challenges for just the beginning of reconstruction of Gaza. So the vision of Cairo, I always say that Egypt is studying the Palestinian case very well, and every detail is being studied by Cairo. I think on the Egyptian table there are lots of files studying every detail in Gaza Strip, and for this we can say that the vision of Cairo is very wide, and it's like for a decade from now, from 2026 to 2040. And the estimated cost, one of the most important points, like he said in the Board of Peace, Donald Trump, he was donating and trying to fundraise like $10 billion. We are talking about a cost like $70 billion. And I remember a word for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi like 2 years ago. He said that this strip will cost $90 billion for reconstruction. So it's a very huge amount of money. You have to guarantee the funding and the continuity of funding from now on.
Exactly, but observers said that talking about suggesting the funding and collecting the money from the members of the board and all that, President Donald Trump is a very successful businessman. He made two of the best military deals in the history of the United States and Saudi Arabia in the first term and the second term, and they just refer to that this funding plan, one of the terms of the agreement, is sort of another successful commercial deal that could be done by the United States for the best interest of the American companies and the European companies who are coming over for the reconstruction.
Yes, of course, it will be investment for all the multinational companies, not only for America, also for the Arabs and for the Egyptian companies. They will share in the infrastructure. Just we have to maintain and to secure this sustainable
funding. At the end
funding.
of the day, it's going to come to the best interest of the Palestinians.
Of course,
providing
for their future
and
there's one
shelter for them.
Yes, and one of the most important points the Cairo vision emphasizes on, which the Palestinians remain in their own lands while this reconstruction happens, under local governance and under one authority, under one unified authority. For this we can guarantee somehow that those Palestinians will rebuild their own state, to have their own state and to have their sovereignty. Also, the International Stabilization Force, Egypt and Jordan, will train many of the local police figures from the Palestine state in order to maintain security and with working in collaboration with the international forces.
That's good that you mentioned the International Stabilization Forces, because this term could refer to many meanings. The questions came like, who is sharing, or what this particular forces, who is sharing, or who is participating in those forces? Is it only Palestinian? Is it other European forces participating also? Because some countries refrain because of the upcoming probably problems that might occur from the Israeli side, and they have no trust whatsoever. Another thing was that in case if there is international stabilization forces, it is completely different from the Board of Peace.
Of course, it's completely different from the Board of Peace.
How different is it?
Those forces are from different countries, from Egypt, from Jordan, from Turkey.
They might not be from countries that are members from the Board of Peace.
They can be from the members. Turkey is a member from the Board of Peace. Egypt is a member. And of course, it's a collaboration. It will be like the UNIFIL in Lebanon, like the United Nations forces, the UNIFIL in Lebanon. It will be like this, in order to, this is for the best benefit of our person.
Will it have full authority?
I suppose, and we hope it will have the full authority, because it will guarantee also the backing of the Israeli forces below or back of the yellow line, which is very important. I will also want to remind you and all the viewers with a very important word of the Israeli foreign minister in the United Nations Security Council just one day before the Board of Peace, and he was very criticizing all the international criticism that was opposing the Israeli forces and all what's happening on Palestine in Gaza Strip. Actually, he was talking about historical claims. He was talking about the accusation of annexations of the West Bank. And he made just a map and showed and pointed at the point of the West Bank area and said, you call it the West Bank, but we call it the Judea and Samaria. So he was claiming and giving multiple proofs of the historical proofs from the Bible and from the Old Testament that this land belongs to them and not to the Palestinians. So we are facing not just an enemy, we are facing someone having a cultural and regional background that he is defending his religious beliefs. So it's very...
and even more than a cultural
And
background.
even he holding his hand like a coin and the stone, saying that this is from King of Judah, and of course the King David built Jerusalem for them. But if I was there, I would like to tell him that from the Old Testament in Isaiah, he said, Isaiah the prophet, he said that the ox knows its master and the donkey knows its master, but Israel doesn't know. Israel does not understand. And this is also from the Bible. Like he is talking from the Bible, from the Old Testament. I will also, if I was there, I would have told him this.
Of course, and other things that he has to know. But on top of all, he also said that he denied, was against completely a two-state solution, and he denied the existence or the future existence of Palestine, against establishing a Palestinian state, which is really a threat to the peace plan, and a threat to the Board of Peace, and threat to all the plans and rehabilitation, and which is the second phase also. So how are we going to deal with this? Since this is being said inside the United Nations.
This is their mentality. They are defending their religion. It's not just a military escalation. It's not a political dispute. They are fighting for their existence. So I think, of course, this is the most difficult part. But at the end, he said that he is going with and supporting the Trump's vision for peace and the Board of Peace. So I think the only guarantee for this initiative is the U.S. And this is the only guarantee for in order they. And of course, Hamas. We have to talk about Hamas. This is an important point. And of course, according to the vision and according to the U.S. administration, they have to handle their weapon.
Right. Apart from Hamas, talking about the factions in general, nothing is going to be affected, no matter how all those members of the Board of Peace and all those countries with the good intention, more than 150 or so,
Yes.
After they finish their mission, if the factions are not in good terms, then things are going to go back to point zero again.
Yes.
So how do you read the situation between the Palestinians?
Of course,
the two factions.
One important point between the Palestinians is the division, and also the Cairo vision. And Cairo always insists that the Palestinians should be unified. And even the weapons and the resistance, they can change their form. And this is one of the ideas that I'm totally convinced of. Why we are not changing the form? The Hamas and all the Palestinians can be part of the international stabilization force. They can defend their country in a legal way. They can be part of the legislation. They can be part of these forces. So we can just change the form of resistance from being illegal to just a legal force.
Exactly. This is what they're working for, the Board of Peace. They are training the stabilization forces. Yes. And also at the same time, the technocrat committee
yes.
and or government, the transitional government, is a good idea also. It is formed from technocrat members, Palestinian, and it's a very democratic, good political solution.
Yes, of course, and it's a temporary local governance just to go with to make the services available for the Palestinians, from food and water and sewage and medical aids. And here the thanks go to the Egyptian states, really, because without the negotiations that were held in Egypt and in Sharm el-Sheikh, this committee would have never come to light. I always see that Egypt is very professional diplomatically, either being a mediator between the Palestine side and the international actors, between the Israeli side and the Palestine. Actually, also the backyard, Sinai is the safe backyard. Without the safety and the security that has been achieved on Egyptian land and Egyptian soil, our sisters and brothers in Gaza Strip would have never
had the humanitarian aid?
Yes, this humanitarian aid. Imagine a very black scenario, other scenario totally in 2013, and the revolution of 30 of the June would have never came to light, and we didn't fight terrorism, and the terrorists and the ISIS troops are still present in Sheikh Zayed and in Sinai. Imagine, they would have given Sinai as an alternative homeland to the Palestinians, and just to get rid and to demolish and delete the Palestinian case.
And they're still insisting on the compulsive
yes, they have never, the Muslim Brotherhood have never worked for the sake of the Palestinian people. They just worked for the sake of Israeli people, for the sake of the Israeli state, in order to just take those people, the 1.2 or 1.3 million people living in Gaza Strip. And of course, by the way, I want to tell you that the Israeli state or the Israeli side likes the West Bank. They see the West Bank, it's one of the important areas they have to put and to make their sovereignty over the settlements. They do not like Gaza Strip. They just want to destroy the Gaza Strip and demolish the people and delete the whole case. And actually this is what was happening in 2013, when the Muslim Brotherhood were just breaking Sinai apart in order to give it away to our Palestinians, brothers and sisters, and just make the whole land for the Israelis.
For the sake of Zionist plans. But at the same time, how much do we have to reach for the second stage? I know we still have to go a long way until we reach the second stage of the peace plan that was set in Sharm el-Sheikh, which is rehabilitation and construction, according to the Egyptian vision. The positive thing that is being observed by political observers is that the American administration is holding full respect for the Egyptian side and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, their smartness, their power, their soft power, the soft diplomacy, and all the out-of-the-box ideas that the Egyptian administration has. How is that going to be affecting or have implementation over the success of the peace plan.
Yes, of course, as I told you, that Egypt is a key player in the whole region, and in the whole scene, Egypt is one of the main players in the issue. And as I said in the very beginning, this board of peace would have never been launched without the approval of the Egyptians. And even before the board of peace, I would like to remind you and all our viewers with the very fixed situation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he refused totally the displacement or the deportation of the Palestinians to Sinai. And this is not out of ingenuity of the Egyptians at all. We are hosting more than 8 or 9 million refugees from all the countries around us. Just deportations of the Palestinians from Gaza Strip to Sinai would mean delete of the Palestinian case and demolishing of the case all over. And this fixed situation and this red line that he drew by his words was a very fixed situation, and also made a guarantee for all the Palestinians who left to go back even to their homes when the reconstruction is complete, or even to share in the reconstruction process. And this is a very important difference between the deal of the century initiative that was presented in 2020 and the board of peace initiative. The board of peace, according to the board of peace initiative in 2025, it guarantees and it's permitting all the return of the Palestinian refugees to where they belong, to their homes. Even the Palestinians who are being treated here in our hospitals and having their medical care or tertiary care in the hospitals of Sinai and Rafah and Al-Arish, they have all the right to go back to their homes, which was not present in the century of the deal initiative. And this deportation that Egypt and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi prohibited was against all the international laws, the international law and the 4th Geneva Convention and the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. All this was against the international law. The deportation was against all the international law criteria.
At this point, a very full and thoughtful point. We'll have to end it here. Of course, thank you very much, Dr. Maryan Gergis, writer and journalist and political analyst. Would like to thank you very much for coming over.